Hello everyone, welcome back to The Budget Sportsman, and thank you so much for joining me on today's video. Today I want to compare two different sets of climbing sticks that are both marketed to the budget-minded sportsman, but they come in at pretty different price points. Now at first glance you might even think these two sticks are almost identical, but upon closer inspection I think you will see that they are two very different sets of climbing sticks. Of course, you've already clicked on the title of this video, so you know that I am talking about the Hawk Helium 20-inch stick and the new Tethrd Skeletor sticks. Now, right out of the gate, I want to make something very clear. When Tethrd released the Skeletor sticks, I actually saw a lot of people accusing them of copying the Hawk sticks. And I want to go on record and say I don't believe that, not even for a minute. In fact, Tethrd actually admitted to copying someone in the design of these Tethrd Skeletor sticks. And guess what? It wasn't Hawk.
One of my favorite climbing sticks of all time is the leverage climbing stick. I love the leverage climbing stick because when it folds away, it folded away from the stick, so you have more standoff space. This is the same reason why we designed the top of our one stick to come away from the stick, so you get as much room for your foot as possible. We love that. We loved it a whole lot. However, leverage went out of business many years ago, so we are bringing that technology back with the Skeletors.
Now I get it. At first glance, these two sticks actually do share some similarities. They both have a similar folding step design. Their center post shares some similarities, and they both have weight reduction holes drilled in that center post. But let's be honest, there are only so many ways you can build a climbing stick, and most sticks on the market today do actually share some similarities. But if you take a minute to look past the similarities, I'm pretty sure you're going to find some features on the Skeletors that, spoiler alert, make them pretty awesome and actually set them apart from the Hawk Helium sticks. So let's dive into these two sticks and break them down, starting with the price. The Hawk Heliums here retail for $150 for a 4-pack. However, it is really common to find them on sale. I actually got mine, I think, right around that $100 mark for the 4-pack. For the sake of this comparison though, let's not use the sale price, let's use regular retail price for both. And when you divide 150 by 4, you're gonna get a price of $37.50 per stick. Just keep in mind, it is pretty common to get them on sale. Now the Skeletors, on the other hand, come in at $225 for the 4-pack. So obviously there is a fair amount of difference there. When you break it down by stick for the Skeletors, it's $56 per stick. Now, one thing I wanted to point out is that while the Skeletors are a bit more expensive at $56 per stick, they're still significantly cheaper than a lot of the premium sticks on the market today that cost anywhere from $80 to $120 per stick. And while these sticks may not have quite the weight savings as some of those more premium options, they do pack in a ton of features that make them a really nice value for the price. Next up, let's talk about weight. The Hawk sticks here with the stock cam buckle strap that came with mine weigh in at 41.5 ounces per stick, while the Skeletors with their Dynalite rope weigh in at just 33.5 ounces. That's an 8-ounce or half-pound difference per stick. Multiply that out by the 4-pack, and you're going to be carrying an extra 2 pounds with the Hawk sticks. Now, obviously with the Hawks, the stock strap weighs 6 ounces each, and an easy way to save weight is to just get rid of that and switch them out to something lighter like these Amsteel daisy chains that I've used on my Hawk sticks for the last 2 years. These daisy chains weigh only 1/2 ounce, saving you 5.5 ounces on each particular stick. Just keep in mind that even with that 5.5 ounce saving, you're still going to be down to 2.5 ounces heavier per stick over the Skeletors, or again, 10 ounces difference for the 4-pack. Also keep in mind that while you can make your own daisy chains, if you choose to purchase these from a company like Custom Amsteel Products or somebody like that, you're going to be paying somewhere between $15 and $20 per daisy chain. Suddenly that price of the Hawks that seems so good just got a lot closer to the price of the Skeletors. Next up, let's talk dimensions. Both of these sticks have a 20-inch center column and just under 24 inches with the steps folded up. One point to note, however, is that the step spacings are actually slightly different due to the exact placement of the steps. On the Hawks, the bottom step is placed a little higher on the post, and you have a 17-inch step spacing from bottom to top step. On the other hand, the Skeletors place their step a little lower in the post and gives you a step spacing of 18 2.25 inches. Now, if you compare the standoffs of these two sticks, you're gonna find that they have pretty much the same standoff distance from the tree. However, the Skeletors have a standoff that's about 1.5 inches wider than the Hawks. Now, in my experience, this has provided exceptional stability on the tree, and as an added bonus, these standoffs on the Skeletor sticks bite the tree significantly better than the Hawks. Once you have these sticks seated, it is really pretty common to take the Dynalite rope off the tree when you're removing the stick from the tree and find that the stick is still firmly attached to the tree. Not that it would climb the tree that way, it wouldn't hold up to that, but this stick is stuck to the tree. Now, one thing to note is that on smaller trees, you might actually find that the Hawk stands away from the tree slightly more. The reason is because it has this narrower standoff, it gets pretty much the same standoff distance regardless of the size of the tree. Whereas if you had a really small tree with the Skeletors, it might not actually hit these outer teeth, and it might actually hit only the inner teeth, and the curvature of that tree would just kind of sit inside that standoff. Now, it gives you great stability, but it is going to put you just a little bit closer to the tree than the Hawks on a very small sized tree. Now, I haven't found this to be an issue at all, and as soon as you get onto a more normal basketball-sized hunting tree, it becomes a total non-issue. Now, another thing to note here is that because the standoff of the Skeletors is wider, it does make for an overall wider package when you have these all packed up into your 3 or 4 pack. That probably isn't an issue for most people, but because I carry my sticks in my overload shelf of my Mystery Ranch backpack, I did have to change the way I carried them slightly with the Skeletors just because it does have a wider standoff. Now, that's an inconvenience that I'm willing to deal with because of the amazing stability that I get on the tree. Let's dive into the really exciting stuff. And there are a couple of features that really convinced me about the Skeletor sticks. And the first is the Dynalite attachment method. But before I show you that, I have to show you what I've been using for the last 2 years on these Hawk sticks. Now, I'm not even going to address the stock straps on the Hawk sticks because, let's be honest, if you're looking for a mobile setup, you're almost for sure gonna be getting rid of those sticks. But I've been using these daisy chains on these Hawk sticks for the last couple of years, and to be honest, they're a real pain. And the reason is, a daisy chain is nothing more than a series of loops. And so when you come around the tree, you have to find the exact right loop. Now, in this case, it worked out pretty well. But you still have a good bit of slack there. If I try to go to the next slot up, I'm just not gonna be able to get it tighter. So I've gotta, try to get it as tight as I can and then seat it down. Now, has it been a deal breaker for me? No, not really. But I can tell you there are a lot of trees that I've climbed in the last 2 years where there just really wasn't a good loop. Like, this is actually reasonably good. Even though you saw all that slack, that was a reasonably good set of that stick. There are a lot of times that it's a lot looser than that, but it's just too tight to go to the next spot. There's a lot of tips and tricks and a lot of things that I ended up doing over the last 2 years to try to always get a good set of these sticks. But the bottom line is, it was a real royal pain. No tree is ever the right dimension to perfectly fit one of these loops. I constantly found myself fiddling, trying to get up the tree and get it good and tight. On the other hand, the Tethrd Skeletor has a Dynalite system, and one of the things that's really cool is it has built-in storage for the rope. Unlike the Hawk, where you're just gonna have to wrap it around or come up with a DIY solution, it has this really nice system where you can just wrap up the rope around this Dynalite tab and then this little button at the bottom there. And again, this all comes with, this isn't a DIY system. That's one of the things that's so great, is it's set up to go with one of the best attachment methods that I've ever seen without any DIY solutions. And so what you do is you just take it around the tree. It really doesn't matter the size of the tree at all. You bring it around the tree and then you go, let's get the rope up just a little bit. You pull it tight, come all the way around the tab, and then you just do a crisscross pattern through each of those little notches. Make sure you set your stick. You always want to do that with any kind of stick. Pull out the bottom and push down, and now you're good to go. The interesting thing about this is it does not matter the size of the tree. You're not fiddling with loops, and it is super easy, super easy to do. So in my opinion, even if you were willing to carry the weight of the cam buckle straps for the Hawks, this is even easier than using cam buckle straps. So the reason I like the Skeletor attachment system so much is that I've never had any trouble getting a good firm set like I would with the Hawk Helium sticks and the daisy chains. That means that I spend less time fiddling while I'm climbing the tree, meaning I'm faster, it's more enjoyable, and to be honest, I think it's safer because you always get a good firm attachment to the tree, and I think there's a lot less chance of having any kind of kick out with this attachment system, and again, because you have these really wide standoffs. Now, the next feature on the Skeletors that really blows the Hawk sticks out of the water are these angled steps. Now you can obviously see that the steps are angled out on the Skeletors, whereas they are flat on the Hawk sticks. I wear a size 12 or sometimes a size 13 boot, and I can tell you that when I was wearing a heavy winter boot, the foot room on these Hawk sticks definitely felt limited. Sometimes, especially when I was standing there hanging a stand or a platform, it really felt like I was standing on the balls of my feet or even on my toes. Now, with the angled steps on these Skeletors, not only does it put the outer edge further away from the tree, but it also helps your toes be angled out past and around the tree, and it really lets you get that step back under the arch of your foot. Now, whether you're just climbing up the stick or you're standing there hanging your tree stand or your saddle platform, you just get some amazing stability with your feet solidly planted on these angled steps. Again, this makes the Skeletors more comfortable, and in my opinion, it actually makes it safer, because anytime you can get your feet on a good solid footing, that's going to be the safer option. Next up, let's talk about the attachment method that these two different kinds of sticks use to nest together for transportation. The Hawk sticks use this suction cup method, and these are pretty well known to have some serious problems, and I've experienced some of those myself. The main problem is that they are really, really hard to get apart, especially in cold weather, and it's not uncommon for the male portion on the back here, that's some hard plastic, to actually snap off, and I actually ended up having that problem as well. One of the solutions is to take a knife and trim out a little bit of this female end, and that allows them to go in and out a little bit better. But again, it is an issue of having these parts break and having to do some DIY solutions. Once you actually get them set up and ready to go, it's really not too hard to put them together. Now, I've actually taken off some of the suction cups on mine, and I'm only running one on this one rather than two, just to make it a little bit easier to take apart. But once you get them set up and ready to go and you do the DIY solution, they do actually nest together pretty well and stay together pretty well. Now, one of the problems that I have had, though, is that you can't really just pull them straight apart. You really have to pry them at an angle. And so I usually end up prying like this and prying it apart. And I don't know if you can see this, but this standoff bolt right here at the bottom actually ends up digging in to the other stick and leaving a big mark. So overall, if you're willing to do the DIY solution on the Hawks, they do work, but they're not amazing. The Skeletors, on the other hand, use these orange stacking pins that are in the standoffs, and they align with holes on the joining standoff. Now, they are a little bit fiddly, because you have to line up the longer pins on the bottom first, get them started in their holes, and then start to push down. And I find that it actually helps if I go like this and just kind of squeeze them together, and now they're nested. And once they're nested, again, they're very solid. I don't have any problems with them coming apart. And the really great thing is, if you did ever break one of these pins, the Skeletors actually ship with an extra pack of replacement pins. So that's pretty cool. My only really complaint about the stacking system on the Skeletors is it is just a little bit fiddly, but I think that's going to kind of alleviate itself with time and with practice. Well guys, I was losing light outside, so let's wrap up this video inside and I'll give you my conclusion on these two sticks. Now, if you're on a tight budget and you're just looking for the cheapest option that's still really mobile and will get you up the tree, then the Hawk sticks will probably serve you just fine. I've used them the last 2 seasons with no real issues to speak of. Just keep in mind that you're probably going to end up doing some DIY modifications on the sticks, particularly in the area of the suction cups. And if you care about weight at all, you're almost for sure going to be spending some money to replace those stock straps. Again, that's probably not going to add up to the price of a Skeletor, but it is going to put you closer. And by this point in the video, hopefully it's obvious what I think about the Skeletors. If you can swing the extra money, the Skeletors really provide some amazing features. In my opinion, the Dynalock attachment method and the angled steps are well worth the extra price alone. The wider standoffs that really grip the tree and the little bit of weight savings are just icing on the cake. As the budget sportsman, I'm often looking for the cheapest product on the market, but the other thing I'm always looking for are products that provide an exceptional price or feature to price ratio, an exceptional value. And I think that that is exactly what the Skeletors provide. Are they the cheapest stick on the market? Not even close. Are they the most expensive stick on the market? Not even close. But I think what the Skeletors offer is a really feature-packed stick that really excel in their price range. And in my opinion, that makes them a really great value. So let me know, which of these two sticks have you tried? Which do you prefer? And which one is on your wish list for next season? Let me know down in the comments what you think of this video. Feel free to give me a thumbs up if you liked the video. If you didn't, maybe click that thumbs down button twice. And until next time, remember to get off YouTube and get outdoors into God's great creation.